Welcome to Dr. Katina Talks, the podcast where we explore the journey to a more fulfilling, balanced, and meaningful life. I'm your host, Dr. Katina. Today, we're talking about something many people live with quietly: the weight of criticism and the need to be understood. This episode is about reclaiming your peace, trusting your own voice, and learning how to live free from other people's opinions. So many of us spend years trying to please people. On the surface, it may look like we're responding to the people in front of us: supervisors, partners, colleagues, or friends. But people pleasing rarely begins in adulthood. It often extends from early experiences where approval was tied to worth. Maybe it began with trying to prove to a coach that we were good enough, or showing a teacher that we were smart enough, or convincing a parent that we were as valuable as someone else. Even when those individuals are no longer in our lives, their expectations remain internalized. We continue performing, explaining, and striving as though their approval is still required for our peace. Not long ago, I spoke at a student leadership conference. I shared a story about the people who influenced my life and the circumstances I had to overcome to become who I am. Both shaped me, those who supported me and those who did not. About a week later, one of the attendees found me, and they wanted me to know how impactful my presentation was to them. They said the stories I told resonated deep. They saw themselves in them, in the desire to grow, and the fear of being criticized for doing so. They talked about what it feels like to be the first in their family to do something different, to pursue a dream, to step beyond what's familiar, and to hear, "You forgot where you came from," or "You think you're better than us now." That conversation reminded me that this isn't limited to students. It's something many people experience, whether it's in their family, career, relationships, or community. Anytime you rise, you risk being misunderstood. And sometimes the very people who say they want you to succeed become uncomfortable when you do. Criticism will not go away. In fact, it often grows louder the more you rise. But that sound, those opinions can be reframed, and I will show you how to do just that. Because every time you move forward, you invite critical voices. And that's where I want to begin today, with what criticism actually reveals, and that you have the power to not allow it to negatively impact your thoughts, your life, or how you feel about yourself. So, as usual, I have 5 takeaways for you. 1. Critics are proof that you're doing something. When you step into purpose, opinions will follow. Critics are not a sign that you are doing something wrong. They are evidence that you are visible, that you are moving. No one critiques stillness. No one attacks what remains unchanged. Growth draws attention, and sometimes that attention appears as criticism. Some of the loudest critics are the quietest dreamers, people who have not given themselves permission to do what you are doing. Their opinions do not reveal your flaws. They reveal their discomfort. 2. Don't give permanent weight to temporary words. Most criticism lasts only seconds, but many people live beneath it for years. Someone makes a passing remark, not rooted in truth, not grounded in understanding, and we carry it as if it were a final judgment. We allow a momentary opinion to interrupt a lifelong purpose. Don't give permanent weight to temporary words. Your assignment deserves more focus than another person's criticism. Don't let what was said in passing reshape how you see yourself for a lifetime. Their criticism reflects their lens, not your truth. Criticism often says more about the person speaking than the person being spoken about. People interpret the world through their own experiences, their own fears, and their own limitations. When someone says, "You think you're better than us," what they often mean is, "I feel smaller when I'm around you." When someone says, "You forgot where you came from," what they really mean is, "Your growth makes me uncomfortable with where I still am." Their words are reflections of their perspective, not confirmations of your identity. You are not responsible for managing another person's projection, because that is what they are doing. They are often projecting their thoughts, their opinions, and their insecurities onto others. 4. Check the credibility of the critic. Before accepting criticism, pause and ask yourself one question. Would I take advice from this person? If the answer is no, why receive their critique? Everyone has an opinion, but not every opinion carries discernment or wisdom. Some people cannot manage their own lives or their own peace, but they feel qualified to comment on yours. True peace comes through discernment, knowing which voices to hear and which to ignore. And 5, you don't owe explanations for your peace. Many adults are still performing for invisible audiences. They overextend, overdeliver, and overexplain, not out of joy, but out of habit. That is not peace. That is performance. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your rest, your growth, or your joy. There will always be those who misunderstand your choices. Let them. Your peace does not require their approval. You are free to live quietly, intentionally, and without apology. So, as I close today, I want you to remember this. Criticism is not a measure of your worth. It is often a reflection of how your growth makes others feel about themselves. There will always be people who misunderstand you, people who misjudge your choices, and people who prefer the version of you that needed their approval. But you cannot give others permission to live their lives and yours too. That is what you do when you give in to their criticism. You are responsible for your peace, your pace, and your purpose. When criticism comes, and it will, do not defend. Do not explain. Ask yourself, is this feedback or is this criticism? Then release it. Because freedom begins when you stop performing for approval and start trusting your own direction. And remember, peace is not the absence of opinions. It is the decision to keep moving even when your critics are loud. They would be silent if you were stagnant, but don't do that. Thank you for listening to Dr. Katina Talks. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who's ready to stop performing for approval and start living free. And remember, validation feels good, but freedom feels better. If you would like to dive deeper, please follow me on Dr. Katina Talks. There you will find free journals to download. Bye for now.